Bite by Night currently only has 3 killers, with more to come in the future updates for the game. Each killer is unique in their own rights and have a wide range of abilities depending on the situation. The current roster consists of Springtrap, aka the Rotten, Mimic, aka the Project, and Ennard, aka the Doppelganger. I'll try to give my own personal take on how I play these killers personally, but in some aspects I may be entirely wrong on their playstyles, so just take what I say as completely opinionated. You do not have to play the same way I do. I just hope that some people would take some of my advice on how to, play them and I guess adapt it to their own playstyle. Alright? Alright. Let's not waste any more time and let's get to our first killer. I'll go ahead and refer to each killer as their in-game name so it alleviates any confusion since they have changed a lot of the names, but yeah, that's kind of it.
Tango, put up more of a fight. Pathetic.
The Rotten is your free killer. You get him once you actually first enter the game, and he's said to be a mix of a rushdown and trapper killer, which this description is pretty accurate given his abilities and all around stats and whatnot. His stats consist of his health being at 1750. Not like it really matters since you will not be dying as killer in this game at all. His walking speed is 14, which is a little faster than what survivors walk at. His run speed is 22, a little slower than survivors' run speed, though the abilities help in making up for that. His stamina is 70, which is a little less than the survivors, but again, he has abilities that, help with catching up and whatnot. The Rotten has 5 abilities, 2 only being obtained after you've thrown your axe, and they consist of his basic swing, which deals 34 damage, or 28 if your axe is out of your hands. These numbers have been tinkered a few times since the game first came out, so just be aware that there might be changes in the near future for them. Bear traps are mainly going to be used in doorways and whatnot, and in unexpected areas that the survivors will typically run through. You'll need to use these traps sparingly since in a recent update they have made it that they, stay forever, and the survivors can disarm them after 15 seconds, but if you have bad placement, then the survivors might be smart and not, disarm those traps. And these changes, again, they were added recently, so they could be changed in the future. Remnant Cleaver is your axe throw. Upon pressing the ability key or holding it down, whichever one of the two it is, but upon releasing it or pressing it again, you will throw your axe, and if it lodges into a player, it will inflict bleeding on that player for 15 seconds, and your axe will be highlighted on them to help you know where they're running off to. But if you do miss, your axe is still highlighted regardless. You just have to go pick it up. And once your axe is out of your hand, it'll change your stats, as I mentioned earlier, and will unlock 2 other abilities, but remove the bear trap ability until you grab your axe again. Upon grabbing your axe again, your stats and abilities basically just go back to what they were before. Not much really changes from grabbing your axe. So once you do throw your axe, you gain the ability Scream, which this will help reveal survivors' locations to you, and also inflicting blindness on those survivors. The closer a survivor is, the more potent your blindness will be, so if a survivor is on the other side of the map, your blindness will not do anything, but if they're right next to you, survivors will barely be able to see since they'll have a black fog around their screen. Screaming will also regenerate 25 of your stamina, and it will replace your ability with a different one, which this ability is called Charge, and basically upon using it, you'll start to run forward at a pretty quick pace. The ability is a bit difficult to turn, and if you grab a survivor with it, you'll pick them up and scream in their face, dealing 40% of their current HP before you throw them to the floor, which can give you a free hit. But do be aware that survivors do have damage reduction while they are ragdolled, so you won't be doing too much damage with the punch, but it's still useful. Be aware that this ability also drains your stamina when you use it, and it cannot be cancelled until you either grab a survivor or you run out of stamina entirely. Now we can get into some strats you can use while playing the Rotten. For starters, use your axe throw when a survivor is, close to you, and don't try to go for like crazy snipe hits unless you're trying to like get a clip or something, because the axe does have an arch to it, and you don't want to waste the possibility of shutting down a loop with bear traps. Bear traps should be placed almost entirely inside a doorway or some other small area that survivors will run through. You don't want survivors having the chance of just, running around your bear trap after they see it, because it nullifies all the effort that you put into actually trying to push the survivor into that. You want to try pushing survivors into your bear trap, or better yet, if you know a survivor is in a room with like no exits, or there's only like 2 doors that lead into one room, then you can trap both of those doors, giving them basically no chance to escape at all. Run is quite slow and quite reliant on the, good bear trap placement, so of course on certain maps, bear traps aren't as useful, like the forest, but with time, you'll basically figure out where you'll need to, like, place stuff and whatnot, and you will be learning that, yeah, you could cut survivors off of loops and basically, push them towards your bear trap. Again, place bear traps sparingly, or in places you know for certain a survivor will run through, or they'll have to disarm the trap to get by that area. And like I said, give them no chance to escape. You can try, hovering around your bear traps a bit, and, coming back every now and then, because after 15 seconds is up, and you see a survivor is trying to, disarm your bear trap, you basically have that time to run over there and hit them. So you basically want to be floating around, a specific area that survivors are going to be trying to disarm your traps in. Also, I will admit that I think he's a bit quicker in his when you throw your axe and actually like lodge it in someone or you miss. You are a tiny bit faster when you're in this mode. Your running speed seems to increase by a little bit. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have much else I can say about the Rotten. He's kind of a very basic killer right now. The project is the second killer you'll probably see under the Rotten, and goes for 4,500 scrap. The project is said to be an adaptive killer, being able to change their modes depending on what the situation, currently calls for. Again, this description is pretty accurate, though you can literally use these modes for any situation, and you'll probably be using some modes more than others a lot, but other than that, yeah, you're gonna do fine if you just use the modes whenever you feel like it. Its health is 3,000, but again, it doesn't really matter since you won't be dying as killer. Its walk speed is the same as the Rotten's, 12, but can change if you do use your speed mode. Its run speed is 22, again, changes with the speed mode, and it has 65 stamina. All these stats have been tinkered with recently and will probably change later down the line, so just be aware of that once this video does actually go out, because stuff, again, really just could change whenever they feel like it. While you're playing as the project, you've got your 3 modes: Strength, Speed, and Stealth. You can switch to these by pressing the ability key and then pressing the number corresponding to that specific mode. Strength is the mode you'll spawn with. You'll know you have it selected because the project's eyes will be orange, and this has no ability tied to it outside of being able to switch to like different modes, but its main use is just for doing really high amount of damage, because this mode makes your swing do a 40 like base hit. Speed is your second mode, and this mode makes you faster by 25%, but it also makes your stamina regen and your base stamina lower by 50%, and it also makes it so you do about 75% less damage, which will do about 9 or so damage per M1. But this speed mode also unlocks one of your abilities. Leap you can only gain by using speed, like I said, and it basically allows you to leap forward quickly and do a 25 damage AoE. This does take a bit of stamina to use, and you cannot jump while you don't have stamina, and it can be used to jump up to areas or over walls, like the walls on the forest map you can jump over, or that one place in the pizzeria play place that like people like to stand up on, you can jump to that. Landing on survivors also makes them ragdoll, which gives you a little bit of time to hit them, but yeah, that's kind of all Leap does for now. Stealth is your third ability and basically removes any sound you make, including your chase theme. This also grants you 10% more speed and unlocks 2 of your other abilities. It also makes you do, I think, 25 less damage, or 25% less damage, which you will only be doing, I think, 25 damage per hit. So yeah, just be aware of that. Grab, you lunge your arm forward a bit in an attempt to grab a survivor. If you do grab a survivor, this ability will change to Drill Stab, which if you press the ability bind again, you will hold the survivor up and stab into their torso, dealing 25 damage before throwing them forward and making them ragdoll. Do be aware that you're on a time limit while holding a survivor before you automatically use your Drill Stab. You can also throw the survivor into others and stun them as well, which typically, if you do stun a survivor with another, the survivor that got hit by the body of the other will be stunned for longer. Drill is its other stealth ability, in which you drill into the floor before you crawl into it. This makes you completely invisible. Survivors can only hear the ground rumbling and their screen shaking while you follow them. This ability is on a time limit as well, but lasts for quite a long time. Upon pressing the ability key again, you'll reach your arm out of the floor, and anyone within the radius of the red circle will ragdoll, dealing 32 damage to that survivor while keeping them stunned for the entire duration of you getting out of the floor. Drill is near immediate when you come out of the ground, so it's not that hard to hit survivors with it, but I should also let it be known that you can change your mode while you're coming out of the ground, since you have a lot of time before you can switch, but again, do be aware that ragdolled survivors do have damage reduction. The project is probably one of the more OP killers right now. If you're going against a small server, you can literally wipe by just using speed and hitting leaps and M1s. But on bigger servers, you will do just fine with just using stealth and speed. I rarely ever use strength unless I have a survivor, cornered, or I know I'll be able to get that hit off, considering strength speed is pretty bad compared to the other two. I always switch to stealth at the start of a round. This allows me to use my drill after a few seconds and helps with locating people and possibly getting some damage off, because it does do 32 damage once you come out of the ground, which is almost as good as getting a stealth, or not a stealth, a strength hit off. I will admit, with how quick you come out of the ground, you do quite a lot of damage for it. You can really demolish anyone by just, hitting them with your drill and then hitting them with a follow-up swing, since you can switch to strength and I guess do a decent amount of damage. You can use leap to jump over doors, like on the forest, or like that one area I mentioned, the pizzeria, which can be really good for survivors camping up there. And you can use your leap to, cut off survivors if they're gonna be running around an area that they have to like go around, but you can jump over it. You can easily cut them off by doing that. But do be aware that, survivors can just easily dodge under you, or just try to move out of the way since you can't really turn while you're in the air. I suggest only using leap when you know a survivor is either gonna take a sharp turn that you can jump over, or if you've out-stamina'd them. Other than that, I think that's all I can say for the project right now. It's a really good killer in its current standing and can easily wipe house, but yeah, we'll probably be seeing some nerfs eventually in the future, because, oh man, they do a lot of damage for how quick their abilities are. The Doppelganger is the third killer you'll see and goes for 6,000 scrap. Their description states that they're a trapper and impersonator. Their whole playstyle revolves around killing people and using their bodies for later to trick others into believing they're, real. The trapper aspect is interesting, but I guess it works. You kind of just have traps in your back pocket like the Rotten, but you aren't as reliant as he is on them. The description is somewhat accurate, but I guess you could make it make sense for the most part, but I feel they're mainly, an impersonator. They have 2,500 health, but again, you won't be dying. Their walk speed is 12, the same as the Project. Their run speed is 23, almost on par with the Rotten. And their stamina is 70, which is the same as the Rotten. They have a swing that deals 32 damage, nothing too special about it. Wire eyes are their trap, I suppose. You dig into your chest and pop out 2 of these little eye creatures that will crawl around and will leap onto survivors' heads if they get too close. This will also reveal the survivor's location to you. That survivor has to shake their camera to get the wire eyes off their head, and will deal slight chip damage the longer they are on their head, leaving them to explode on the floor if the survivor does shake them off, but that can also damage the survivor if they run back into it. You can only have 2 of these on the floor at the same time. Using the ability again will cause the others to explode. Grab is exactly as it says. You launch your arm out and attempt to grab a survivor, though this ability does have a range and can also be pretty difficult to hit. And if you do actually grab a survivor, you will pull them back towards you and get an immediate M1 on that survivor. Though be aware that fighters can still parry you or hit you if you grab them. Skin Stealer will allow you to use the body of yourself or anyone you kill. This is basically used to trick survivors. You should only be using this when you know you're out of the sightline of any survivors, since you don't want your whole trickster act to fall apart. Upon getting into a body, you will be put onto a pretty long time limit, and it will also activate 2 of your other abilities. Stab changes your M1 into a lunge. This can be pretty difficult to hit on people who know you're fake. You should be only using this when you know it'll hit a survivor that's unaware, like people working on a generator who aren't looking around or something like that. If you do successfully hit a survivor, you'll play an animation of you stabbing them repeatedly, dealing 45 damage, and making that survivor ragdoll for a little. If you do miss a hit, or, actually hit this ability, it will decrease the time limit, so be wary of that. Explode will do an AoE explosion upon pressing the ability key, and deals 25 damage while also ragdolling the survivor it hits. This explosion will also happen automatically after your time is over with the Skin Stealer ability. This ability also takes a little bit of time to, happen, kind of like the Project Stealth Drill timing, but it is fairly quick. For some reason, this ability also tends to, lag the entire game. I don't know why, but yeah, it's certainly something. Since the Doppelganger's whole thing is to be sneaky, if you do kill a survivor, it does not show up in the bottom left like it would for other survivors. It doesn't show a little skull icon over a dead person just so people don't know that this person's dead, and so you can trick people easier. And the Doppelganger is pretty good. As long as you are landing your abilities, you'll be just fine and can easily wipe entire servers. And I consider the Doppelganger to be probably one of the most OP killers, but I got into that in the other video, so if you want to go watch that, you can. Typically, you only want to be using your grab in areas like hallways or just big open spaces that you know you'll be able to grab a survivor in. This is easier on some maps than it is on others, like the forest is just a big open area, and survivors will typically have to run through a very open place to get to a door to barricade it. Your wire's eyes can be used literally whenever you want, so you can just catch a survivor off guard, but you could mainly use them to cut off loops like the Rotten can do, but you can be a lot more annoying with these traps since they move and can also just, block off spaces more than the Rottens can. Being inside someone else's body will not retain the class that the survivor was playing before. So be aware that, mid-match, you're probably not going to be tricking people as easily if, they were paying attention to their teammates and what classes they were playing. I suggest trying to corner a survivor before exploding on them or trying to stab them. The explosion can be quite easy to dodge in more open areas, as well as, you know, the stab, since you do kind of have to... You kind of have to turn yourself with the stab to actually hit certain people, or just, like, I guess, predict which way they're going to try to dodge. You can also do tasks as the Doppelganger, so use that to your advantage to trick survivors into thinking you're real. Because I nearly got messed over by trusting somebody on a gen before, so just be aware they can do tasks, or you can do tasks, either or. I suggest don't just run at people either. Don't try to make it obvious that you're a fake, since if you do, your whole act is kind of screwed unless you chase somebody into a corner. But the whole skin stealer thing, it's really good at the beginning of the match, but does kind of fall apart at the mid to end game. Alright, I think that's all I really can say for them right now. We can go ahead and finish off the video now. Well, I hope you guys took some of that information into consideration. Again, I may be entirely wrong on how to play these killers, but I hope that in some aspects I helped your gameplay, or just like improved your skills at all, even if a little. If you guys wanted to add on to anything I said, or even correct me, feel free to do so in the comments. Maybe start discussion with each other for like tips on specific killers that maybe you only know. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. I'll be back for Survivors eventually, but I'll probably upload those videos one by one. This video is already hard enough to make all into one, and I want to push those Survivors videos out so I have more time for other stuff and whatnot. Alright, I'll stop rambling now. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night, day, or maybe evening. Bye bye.